I'm really excited for our playoff power rankings with the one word. I think that's gonna be sick.
Did you read mine?
I put your ranking. I created a graphic for it, so
Oh,
I
okay.
definitely looked at your rankings, and then as I was looking at the rankings, I read some of yours, but not all of them.
I was gonna
I think,
say
or
once you
I
get
don't
to
remember
like
all of them.
7, it's all negative. Why I think they can't do it.
Yeah. All right, you ready to go?
Mm-hmm.
Hello and welcome back to the Second and Two podcast. I'm your host TB. I've got my co-host, producer extraordinaire, connoisseur of hats. Got a nice one on today. Yeah.
Had to cover that up, you see.
And official recruit for the police academy.
No, not yet. Well, let's know.
Hey, hold on. I'm jumping the gun. Jumping the
Yeah.
gun.
I got a PT test on Monday.
He's close, folks. He's close. Jody. What's up, Joe?
What's up, bro? We're here.
Sorry, bro.
The
Don't mean to
second. No,
jump the
it's all
gun on
good.
that.
No. That's excuse me. That's a ways away. I got a PT test Monday, interview Tuesday if I pass that, and then if that goes well, fast forward to the end of March, you have to go take the test. So it's called it's basically just like a grammar test from what I've been studying. So it's like you just gotta learn how to write well. It asks you a bunch of like thesaurus stuff, like say like what word is most similar to this word, and then you gotta pick the best one of the options and stuff. There's some where you gotta like fill in the blank, so it's like a story. You gotta figure out what they're saying, and I don't know. We'll see how that goes. We got a bunch of stuff between here and there before that happens, but Happy New Year happened yesterday, the day we're recording. Today's the 2nd. We did a little preview on the last one for resolutions. So like I said, I want to finish my book that I started. Gotta get that out the way. And
I've been watching more football, so
I was gonna say we gotta watch more football, of course. we gotta drink more water.
Yeah. Hey, drinking more water too.
Yeah, I'm here too. Yeah.
Speaking of football, we're gonna kind of. I don't like starting this way, but I would be remiss to say that we don't. If we didn't send our condolences to the families in New Orleans that were impacted.
Yeah.
Yesterday, the day before, by the awful events happening there. A lot of stuff come out since, but I mean, everything that we've seen is a lot of people were affected. At least 15 people died, 25 more people injured, maybe many, many more. A lot has come out, especially about some of the people who died that were in critical condition and their affiliations to both Georgia and Notre Dame and all this stuff. I mean, it's terrible. Kudos to the Sugar Bowl and the local police for making a good decision and postponing that game. We are going to talk about the college football playoff games. We obviously won't be talking about that one because that one hasn't happened yet. That's happening tonight because of everything that went on there and them making sure that environment was safe to actually host a football game and have it played and all that stuff. So that's just a awful way to start the new year. I don't really enjoy starting the podcast that way, but it also would have felt weirder to not acknowledge that happened, given all the things that we were talking about, including, obviously around football.
The playoff.
So,
yeah.
So our condolences to those families, thoughts and prayers. I mean, it always feels kind of not a lot we're doing here by saying that, but we can at least acknowledge that.
Very true. And I was gonna say too, there's also, did you see the Cybertruck too in Vegas?
Yeah, like blew up.
Yeah.
Wild. A lot of stuff going on already.
Yeah. And
we're day 2 of 2025. Yeah.
So hopefully everything gets a lot better going forward from here because it's a terrible way to start for sure.
We're going to talk about the playoff at the end of the podcast. We're going to start all NFL heavy here. And so for those of you who are really looking for some college football playoff stuff, we'll talk about it at the end. We are going to start with our usual NFL news here. First thing, we got some records on the line, namely the rushing record. Saquon, 101 yards away. A lot of questions this week. Will the Eagles let them go get it? They're locked into the 2 seed. They can't
already
move
shut
up
him
or
down.
down.
They already shut him
And yeah,
down.
it came out yesterday, late yesterday, early this morning. The Eagles are going to rest him.
So Eric Dickerson lives on.
Eric Dickerson's record stands. Saquon still milestone season going over 2,000.
Carry on.
That's impressive. So the Eagles are going to rest some dudes, including Saquon, because they're locked in the 2 seed, can't move up or down. In Week 18, we have 3 divisions up for grabs. We don't have any playoff games, no win or go home like playoff games in Week 18, which is weird because we normally have at least one. We just don't have any of those this week. So, but we do have 3 divisions up for grabs. Obviously, the Lions Vikings for the 1 seed on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy.
Sunday Night Football got bailed out that the Vikings won their game against the Packers. If they had lost, I don't know what game they would have chose for Sunday Night Football. It would have been real weird. And
I probably would have. Oh, never mind. I was gonna say it could have been that Rams game, but they already locked that in, so it didn't matter anymore.
A lot of stuff. There's not a whole lot of games where both teams have everything on the line, regardless. I mean, the Lions Vikings is the only game that has a lot on the line, regardless of what happens outside of them. Like for those 2 teams, it's winner gets the 1 seed, losers the 5 seed.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
You got to buy in home field or you got to go play.
You're on the road the whole way. Yeah. The NFC South also up for grabs. The Bucs or the Falcons, obviously not playing each other. The Falcons already beat the Bucs twice. The Bucs have a 1-game lead. So for the Bucs, it's very easy. Tie or win, you're in. Lose, and now you have to root against the Falcons because if the Falcons can win with the Buccaneers' loss, the Falcons would be in.
Yeah.
In the event that somehow they both tie, the Bucs would be in, or if there's a tie either way, the Bucs would be in. So for the Falcons, it's win and the Bucs have to lose because they have to end up with the same record. Otherwise, the Bucs would get in. But if they end up with the same record, the Falcons have the tiebreaker, so they're in. They're playing divisional games, right? The Bucs are playing the Saints, and the Falcons are playing the Panthers. So the Falcons feels pretty low on the hope scale there because you think the Bucs are like 13-point favorites.
I was gonna say
so if the Bucs blow it
in recent weeks.
Yeah, if the Bucs blow it, then they don't deserve to get it, but it feels like they'll get it. And then the AFC North, the Ravens and the Steelers, that's the Saturday games that we have this week. The Ravens is a similar situation to Bucs and Falcons, right? The Ravens have a 1-game lead, but Steelers have the tiebreaker. If the Ravens win, they win the division. If they lose, and then the Steelers win, the Steelers would then win the division.
Yeah.
So those are the 3 divisions we have up for grabs. Like I said, only one where it's a head-to-head, winner take all. And it's not even losers out. It's just winner gets the 1 seed in the division. So, like we said, Saturday is the AFC North's day. Ravens, Browns, and then Steelers, Bengals. A lot of questions about why this became the Saturday games. One, the NFL had not a lot of good options. This is not a great Week 18 slate. We don't have a lot of awesome games, for one. 2, if you look at it, that Steelers-Bengals game has the most on the line outside of Lions Vikings, right?
Yeah,
and it makes sense to put it on. It makes sense to put it on Saturday because for the Bengals, they won't know what happened with the Broncos or the Dolphins, so they just got to win, right? No matter what, they're going to want to win. For the Steelers, it's 2 things, right? One, if the Ravens lose, you're playing for the division, okay? But if the Ravens win and you know you can't win the division, then you're playing for seeding because the difference between the 5 and the 6 seed for the Steelers could be the difference between winning a playoff game and not. The 5 seed gets you a trip to Houston.
Texans are back to Raven,
and Houston has not looked good recently, like at all. The 6 seed, if you were to lose and say the Chargers win, and the Chargers are playing the Raiders, and if they see the Steelers lost, I think the Chargers are going to go for it and go try and get that 5 seed.
Yeah.
Then you all of a sudden are going to Baltimore, where you just lost by 17 points.
Yeah. Tough.
Now, it's not to say they can't win in Baltimore. Obviously, if anybody can beat Baltimore, it's that Pittsburgh defense.
Mike Tomlin.
But they haven't looked good recently. I really think it's important for them to get a win going into the playoffs, secure the 5 seed, even if you can't win the division, go to Houston and beat Houston.
Yeah.
And then you probably secure a date with the Chiefs, who I think the Steelers played with on Christmas Day for a while.
Their defense, they could be good.
Yes. So if I'm the Steelers, either way, I'm playing for something there. So to me, that Steelers-Bengals game does feel like a great Saturday night game, great choice. And then if you were going to do that, then Ravens-Browns earlier feels good because now you also force the Ravens to play because they won't know what happens with the Steelers game, right? They're going to have to play to win to lock up the division because they play before the Steelers. The Browns, hey, man, they're just kind of like if you had that dragon meme and there were 3 of them with one kind of looking goofy, the Browns are the one, right?
Yeah.
Little bit of conspiracy theory on the HBO, Hard Knocks. This is why they put them on Saturday. I think it more has to do with there's a lack of credible games, and there's at least 3 out of those 4 teams all have something to play for the way you schedule it this way. That Bengals-Steelers game, if nothing else, will be the most entertaining game outside of Lions-Vikings, I think, of the weekend because it has the most on the line, especially putting it Saturday night before the other games happen. So I think that was a smart move from the NFL. Makes sense. And it just so happens, yes, they're also on Hard Knocks, so that kind of helps promote that show, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the Bengals, too. I kind of was going to touch on this later, but they got dudes looking for contracts. They need T. Higgins, Jamar to lock up. They're also, like you said, the playoff berth potentially. And so there's just too much going on for them for me to think that they're not going to go out there and ball regardless.
Yeah. Speaking of all that, we have to look at the playoff picture. Right now, the Chiefs obviously locked up the 1 seed. They're 15-1. The Bills locked up the 2 seed. They're 13-3. There's 3 possible teams who could be the 7 seed. You have the Broncos, 9-7. They're in a win and in situation. Obviously, they play Carson Wentz and the Chiefs. The Dolphins, they are in a win. If the Broncos lose an in situation, they will be playing the Jets but they will not have Tua, it appears. They're going to have to play without Tua for a second week in a row. So,
interesting.
And then the Bengals, who are 8-8 right now, who would be, have to win on Saturday and then have to hope for a Tua-less Dolphins to lose, which is possible. The problem is they're playing the Jets, who have been awful. Just awful. I mean, if you got like a vintage Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams performance, I guess, without Tua, it's possible.
Devontae needs a touchdown, I think, or some yards to get an incentive bonus. So, hey, it's possible.
And then, obviously, the Broncos, again, playing Carson Wentz and the Chiefs. Feels like it's going to be tough for the Broncos to lose that game, especially knowing that they really have to win to get in, it feels like. If the Broncos lose, Dolphins or Bengals probably slide in their spot. So you have that. The 3 seed right now currently would be the Ravens at 11-5. Could also be the Steelers. We explained that at 10-6. But the Ravens, if it stays this way at 11-5, will play the 6-seeded Chargers, who are at 10-6 right now. And then the Texans, they have locked up the 4 seed, can't move up or down. They're 9-7, nothing to play for this week. And they will play right now would be the 5-seeded Steelers at 10-6. So a little bit of movement can happen between the Steelers could be the biggest mover, riser or faller. They could get all the way up to 3 or fall as low as 6, one way or the other. So the Steelers could be 3, 5, or 6. The Ravens could be 3 or 5. And then those Chargers could be 5 or 6. So we'll see who the Texans end up hosting and then who ends up hosting that 3-6 matchup. In the NFC, you obviously have the 1 seed, Lions/Vikings. They're both 14-2. They're going to play for the division this week.
Yeah.
The winner gets the 1 seed, right? The Eagles.
What if they tie? Who gets it? Lions or
the Lions, because they won the first matchup.
Okay.
Yeah. The Eagles, they're 13-3. They're locked into the 2 seed. They will play for nothing. They're playing the Giants this week. They'll probably still win, even without playing their dudes, because that's how bad the Giants are right now. And the Giants,
they just won a game.
I know they just won their game against the Colts. I don't think they want to win another game, though. They're like the draft positioning that killed them. Leave it to the Giants to mess that up. Okay. The Eagles would be playing the Packers if things ended today, at 11-5 at the 7th seed. The Rams 10-6. They could be 3 or they could fall to 4. So they're not locked into the 3rd seed. It depends on what happens in that NFC South that we mentioned before, because technically, if the Rams and Buccaneers both finish 10-7, the Buccaneers have a tiebreaker that would flip them to 3 and
Oh,
drop the Rams
dang.
to 4. So the
That's tough.
Rams do have the ability to play for seeding. We've heard Sean McVay. They're resting Stafford.
Yeah.
It'll be a Jimmy G start this week against Seattle at home. We'll see what happens with that. If they win, they lock up the 3 seed. If they lose, they're probably ending up at the 4 seed because we just said we expect the Bucs to win, right? So right now they would play the 6 seeded Commanders, who are 11-5, hold the tiebreaker over the Packers. If both those teams win, it'll be 7 Packers, 5 Commanders, or 6 Commanders. If for whatever reason the Commanders lose and the Packers win, then they could flip spots. It sounds like the Commanders want to avoid Philly, though, so they are going to try their best to win. They want
I
to
was gonna
play the
say
Rams or the Bucs.
we either need to win and they win, or we need to lose and they lose. Because, or I guess if they lose, that's a bad thing. We would end up, never mind.
And then in the 4 seed, you have the Buccaneers or Falcons at 9-7, 8-8, or like we mentioned, could be the Rams as well. But that 4 seed right now, either one of the Buccaneers or Falcons could win the NFC South, and then the 5 seed will be the Vikings or the Lions. The loser of that game will slide to 5. So still a lot more movement in the NFC than the AFC. So matchups are really undetermined. The only thing we know in the NFC is that the Eagles will be the 2 seed and host the 7 seed. Right,
Yeah,
that's it.
that's true.
So we're going to get into some playoff power rankings right now with the 17 teams that are still alive. We're going to go through our 17, right? The 14 spots plus 3 that are still alive, 2 in the AFC, 1 in the NFC that we mentioned. And essentially, we're just going to give one word answers as to why this team is in this spot. And we'll go back and forth, almost like a draft style, right? And Jody, as my co-host, I'll let you go first in the power rankings. Week 18 playoff eligible power rankings.
Oh, we got some risers and sliders, huh?
Yeah. You know it. You always got to have the risers and fallers, dude.
All right,
Graphics department's doing a good job today. They're cooking.
They did a good job over there, TV. My first word, I am going with the Bills as my team, and my first word I'm giving out is weather. So I think that they are ahead of everyone else because of the weather favors them. It's especially in the AFC. And I mean, obviously, Josh Allen's been killing it with the team that I did not believe in at the start of the year. But regardless, I think the weather plays a big factor for them in the playoffs, and that's why I got them 1.
Great. I've got the Ravens, who are currently, like we mentioned earlier, 11-5. They're the AFC's 3rd seed. But why do I have them as 1 in the playoff power rankings? Lamar. Lamar Jackson has entered or re-entered or whatever, challenged the MVP conversation in recent weeks with his play. What once seemed like a foregone conclusion that Josh Allen would win it has now become a serious debate. Lamar's playing out of his mind. It's really hard to defend. We're going to feature some of their running game later on this episode and talk about why that's so difficult right now. But the Ravens are awesome on offense. They have been all season for the most part. The pass catchers are really tough right now with Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman, Isaiah Likely, and Mark Andrews, right? You have the combination of Lamar and Derrick Henry in the backfield, which is just really hard to stop. And then defensively was their weakness, right? But, it's interesting. If you go back the last 4 weeks, they are giving up 14 points per game. If you go back to the beginning of November, they're still only giving up just over 17 points per game. This defense has figured it out. They're playing well. Everyone assumed that, okay, well, you can't really pick the Ravens to go to the Super Bowl because defensively they gave up too many passing yards. They're not playing well. They're giving up leads. We watched what happened with like the Raiders early in the season and some of that stuff. And you go back and you're like, you know what? Actually, since they kind of figured their stuff out in early November, they're one of the better defenses in the league again. So when you have a team that is that complete, I mean, they were down at one point, I think 3 games in the division to the Steelers, and they've caught them. Hard for me not to like this Ravens team, and hard for me not to. I mean, I like Harbaugh, I like Todd Monken, I like Zach Orr, I like coaches, their talent. All of it to me spells, hey, this team is ready to make a Super Bowl run, and I thought they were last year. And the big difference between this year and last year is Derrick Henry, and that's why I'm ready to put them 1. So
right.
2.
Hold on, wait. I want to throw in a curveball to your MVP talks since you brought it up.
What are you gonna say, Joe Burrow?
Yes, sir. My guy's got the
Okay.
most yards, the most touchdowns, and I think he has. Oh no, Lamar has 4 picks. Regardless, he only has 8 picks on the year, and the only thing that's different from him and everyone else is the record.
Here's what I'd like to say. If we were just basing awards on stats, there'd be a lot of weird award outcomes. So I'm not like I see the Twitter, the easy like graphic of like, look, who's got better stats, blah, blah, blah. I'm just telling you, if you watch the games, the guy who has consistently played the best and done the most and been the most valuable to their team this year, to me, is still Josh Allen. But I would say that Lamar has made that conversation really, really close. But I'd still give it to Josh Allen. And by the same token, you can make a very fascinating argument for Joe Burrow because that Bengals defense has been so awful that it's amazing they're even in the playoff conversation right now.
Yeah.
And it's a tip of the cap to Joe Burrow. But let's remind ourselves, Joe Burrow also has the best receiver in the league who makes a lot happen. Makes him look really good. Lamar and Josh Allen don't have anything close to a Jamar Chase. So let's not forget that when we start talking about Joe Burrow's stats and trying to prop him up like he's the MVP. I'm not saying he's not close. He would be my 3rd dude right now.
All right, if they were in
and then here's the thing: if you start talking about stats, guess who else do you now have to bring into
Jared
it?
Goff.
Start talking about Sam Darnold, Jared Goff. Those dudes have some better stats than Allen, Jackson. Like
they got yards.
But then once again, those guys have the best infrastructure of any of these quarterbacks right now. So that's why they look so good. But
Goff has more picks with less touchdowns. Sam Darnold is in the same boat. Less touchdowns, more picks.
Yards-wise, though, aren't they both?
Yeah. No, they're all above them yards-wise.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So
they're top
if you start
5
talking stats,
in yards.
You got to bring.
Geno is 5th. Josh Allen's actually like 8th. It looks like, or 9th.
There you go. Josh Allen also runs the ball more than any of those dudes who are not named Lamar.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's Lamar or Josh Allen. I will hear a Joe Burrow 3rd place candidacy, but I can't put him above those guys right now. And I still think
what offsets
relative
in rushing
relative
yards
to the talent
in passing.
Relative to the talent around the rest of the roster, like, I'm sorry, Baltimore is a more talented roster than Buffalo, and Buffalo somehow has more wins.
That's true. Yeah,
I still lean
got like half their team in the Pro Bowl this year.
I still lean Josh Allen. That's
because
I think he's doing
with that statement.
I think he's doing the most with the least.
Yeah,
is of all the quarterbacks we're talking about. I think Lamar is very close. I love Lamar. And I think Joe Burrow is also very close. Again, in any year that didn't feature Josh Allen and or Lamar, it could be Joe Burrow's year. And any year that it didn't feature Josh Allen, it could also be Lamar's year. We've seen Lamar win it twice. I mean, clearly the dude he's impossible to game plan for. So, but moving on. Your second team in the rankings. Go ahead, Jody.
All right, I got the Vikings here. Similar to what you talked about with Jamar Chase and that aside that we just went on. They got Justin Jefferson. They got Jordan Addison. They got Hawkinson, not a receiver, but I didn't even tell you guys my word. My word was receivers. And that's where I got them at number 2. Their defense is insane. They blitz all the time. Going to be a struggle for whoever has that 4 spot. because they're just gonna get nothing but pressure on them. So I guess it doesn't. It depends if they get the 5th seed or the 1. I shouldn't put that on that. I think they're gonna lose because I don't. But yeah, I think the Vikings are good because of their receivers. That's my one word.
Okay. I got Chiefs. I think it's disrespectful to put them any lower than this, even though there's parts of me that watches them and says, these guys are gettable. They're very beatable. They're not a juggernaut right now, but they're 15-1 and they're the 1 seed and they've got it locked up and they're going to
Yeah.
rest guys this week and they're going to have another week off. Like they're going to be as healthy as they've ever been going into the playoffs during this three-peat that they're on right now. Possibly, obviously, if they'd have to win this year for it to truly be the three-peat. But you know what I'm saying? The three-peat bid that they're on right now, they're going to be the healthiest they've ever been, more than likely. They do have issues on the offensive line. Creed Humphrey is like a godsend to that group. They have a mishmash of receivers that are
D-Hop,
just
Hollywood Brown.
I guess they're going to get it done, right? Defensively, they are really tough. I mean, they're not scoring they're not getting to 30 points in any of the games they've played this year, and yet they're winning 15 out of 16. So the word obviously was three-peat. I think it's going to be very difficult for them to do, but it's also you can't put a lot of teams above them right now because they've shown time and again that they just get it done. So that's the one word there is three-peat. And on to number 3.
Well, kind of piggybacks you. I got the Chiefs here at 3. Kind of similar with how you said you can't put them nowhere else. I put them at 3 because of their record. Time and time again. I think they're going to lose, but they figure it out somehow. 15-1, as you mentioned. 3-peat on the line as well. I just think that no matter what, they're going to get it done, and they got home field advantage.
Mm-hmm.
That's another big one. So, yeah, top 3 Chiefs are there for sure. So that's where I got them with the record being my word.
If there was like a living embodiment to the meme or the gif of like how do they keep getting away with this, I think it's the Chiefs with that O-line right now. The Eagles, I have the Eagles third. They're 13-3, the NFC second seed. My one word here is Saquon. Can anybody stop that dude? Like, can anybody? Because no one's done it yet.
Sirianni can. He said you can't play this week.
Yeah, Sirianni. Sirianni is the only dude that can. And that is the one thing, if you're an Eagles fan, that you're probably worried about in the playoffs is like, will this coaching staff mess this up? And it's not Fangio or who am I? Or their OC Moore, Kellen Moore. Right? It's not going to be Fangio or Kellen Moore. I think both those dudes have done an excellent job, and Sirianni deserves credit for bringing those dudes in this year. Their talent is out the roof. Like everything about the Eagles screams they should come out of the NFC and be the Super Bowl representative to me. They're the most talented team in my mind in the NFC. They have arguably the best. Oh yeah, I think the Eagles have more talent than the Lions. The Lions are
defense.
Yeah, I mean just the playmakers that are at every level though. Like the Lions don't have anyone that's like Jalen Carter. Now, obviously, Aiden Hutchinson when he's healthy, but right now the Lions.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, so it's mainly because of defense. The receivers, they kind of don't have as many good ones.
I was going to say the receivers are more talented in Philly. Now, I love Jared Goff, but if we're being honest, Jalen Hurts probably has more talent, like more ability. Jared Goff is doing more right now, and he's probably the better player right now. But just from a talent, bar for bar perspective, pound for pound, Philly has the most talent in the NFC. Now, they are also seemingly, of all the contenders out of the NFC, have the weirdest like team chemistry things going on at different times between last year and this year, and that's always the worry, and that's where I think the Sirianni part of it comes in. You wonder, but for the most part, at the end of the day, Philly has the ultimate get out of jail free card when things aren't going well. You know what they can do? They can just say, hey, Saquon, we're going to run it 30 times with you, and your talent combined with our mashing of offensive line, no one stops it. And in
Yeah.
the playoffs, when things do get like if Jalen Hurts is playing bad and they can't get the ball to AJ Brown, they have the ultimate get out of jail free card. And no one
Mhm.
stops it. I still haven't seen someone say, yeah, we're going to stop this and do it effectively, and you won't run Saquon, you won't go get 100 yards plus.
I
No
mean,
one's
he
done it.
did that with the Giants, and they're way worse than the Eagles.
No one, and that's the thing. No one's done it. So that's why I have Philly so high. I think they're the prime. They're. If I had to pick a team coming out of the NFC right now, I'm taking Philly over
Ooh.
everybody else. And I know everyone loves the Lions and the Vikings and all that, but I'm taking Philly. They're the most talented team. They got the best thing going right now. The most sure thing is Saquon
Mhm.
Barkley running the football.
That's true. All right, my fourth spot right here. I got the Ravens. My one word is Harbaugh. I don't want to piggyback you with Lamar, and you also
Fair.
put this in a later one too. So I thought it'd be funny to steal your thunder with Harbaugh. But yeah, I mean, Lamar's been killing it. We had the talk already about MVP and whatnot. Definitely the most battle tested as they are year in year out with the AFC North or whatever. So I think they're the most ready. I just feel like I don't know something's gonna happen, something fluky or something weird that would hold them back. So that's why I got them at 4. But like I said, they're still top 14 to make the Super Bowl. It's kind of a no brainer with everyone else ahead of them. I think.
Yeah. At 4, I have the Bills. My one word is Allen, as in Josh, as in MVP. Now, what's funny is I do think Josh Allen's the MVP, and yet if things play out the way they look like they're going to play out, and Baltimore goes to Buffalo in round 2, I'm taking Baltimore. I think
Ooh,
Baltimore's a terrible matchup for Buffalo because Baltimore is going to be able to score on that Buffalo defense. They're going to be able to run the ball down that.
that's
Like
true.
we saw that early in the season. Baltimore trounced Buffalo, right? And it'll be funny because what will happen is Josh Allen will, and then the Ravens will go to Buffalo and beat Buffalo, and everyone will use that to say that Lamar should have won the MVP retroactively, and it'll be the funniest thing ever. And I'll still think those people are wrong because I still think, like I said, I think Josh Allen doing more with less, however, has a worse roster, and therefore Baltimore should go beat Buffalo when that game does probably, hopefully happen. I would be
Me
very
too.
excited to watch it. Now, do I think Baltimore kills them this time? No, of course not, because I think Josh Allen is playing that well right now. I think that would be just a fun, really, really fun game to watch. I do think Baltimore would have trouble slowing Buffalo's passing attack, despite what they've done over the last 2 months. But
Hmm.
I do think that would be a fantastic game. So I have Buffalo at 4 because they have the MVP of the league.
Makes sense. My next word at 5. Oh, I got the Eagles, and my word is prima donnas. Now you mentioned they got the star-studded roster. They got Fangio took over that defense like week 6, and they've been balling. We got DeJean, Quinyanimo, as they like calling him. That front four, Jalen Carter. It's just nothing but ballers, especially on the defense. But it comes back to them having problems in the locker room, as you mentioned. AJ Brown was beefing with the quarterback. They got their own coach getting yelled at by players, or their assistant coaches aren't even listening to the guy. Like too much outside noise over there. Don't know how to keep it contained, like Mike Tomlin. So for that reason, I got them at 5. Do think they're good. Just too much noise. It's gonna make them mess up in that route, in my eyes.
Okay, I've got the Lions as my 5 team in the power rankings, and my one word is culture. I think
Hmm.
what Dan Campbell and
Bunch of men out there.
their GM, whose name I'm blanking on, it's Brad. Can't remember
Stevens.
Brad's last name. Sorry, no, not Brad Stevens. That's basketball.
Oh,
But anyway, they have built a culture that's sustainable, and despite injuries, they keep humming along. I'm not counting this team out. I know a lot of people like the Vikings on Sunday Night Football this week.
Brad Holmes.
And there's Brad Holmes. Thank you. Thank you for giving that man his credit because he deserves it. He's built a fantastic roster and culture there in Detroit. I I'm also like weirdly leaning towards the Vikings Sunday night, and yet every time I think the Lions don't have it, they've figured it out. And so I just can't right now I reserve the right to swap the Lions and the Vikings based on what happens on Sunday Night Football. But right now, I can't put the Vikings above the Lions just yet. I think the Lions here at 5 because of the culture.
Okay. I see. Now, since we made it to 5, can you briefly tell us what these green arrows and red arrows mean on the screen for those listening?
I don't know. They're just trending up,
Hey,
trending down.
okay.
They're just a graphic feature. I mean,
I thought you had
nothing
a rhyme or
special.
reason as to why you threw them
No,
in. Okay.
nah.
Okay.
They're just on
Top
there.
of the
Cool
chain,
graphic
bottom of
feature.
the chain. I got you.
Yeah.
All right. Up at next at 6. You know what's funny? I'll let you say it when you get there, but my number 6, I have the Rams, and my one word is hot. I think they've won, I want to say 5 games in a row or something crazy.
Yep.
They've been balling ever since they got Puka back. I said that all year. Cooper, hate to break it to you, but he didn't really do much for you last week. We got their defense. I think that's probably their biggest problem. They've been playing a lot better. They're just really young. And we saw what happened in that Bills game. They let up 40-something points. And then ever since then, they've been in nothing but one-score games, which is kind of crazy. Doing enough to get the job done. Similar to the Chiefs, I guess, in a way. So I think they're just playing really well. My word's hot. Got the Rams here at 6.
At 6, I have the Vikings, and I just kind of mentioned with them and the Lions, like toss up. Winner gets the 1 seed. That probably determines who's 5, who's 6, right? But I think either one of those teams is built to go on the road and win as well. And my one word for the Vikings is KOC, Kevin O'Connell.
I wanted to do that earlier for
They're
mine as a joke, but I wanted to say the word that's like a rooster instead.
Okay. Okay. Shouldn't
And
have
the
let
fact that
that
you
one.
wrote that down for your word was even funnier because I was like, dang, he was thinking it too.
Yeah. KOC, man. I respect what he's done. I think we did our mid-year awards. I think I gave Tomlin the coach of the year. I think by this point, I'm now ready to say that I think Kevin O'Connell deserves this award with what he's done on that team, some of the injuries that they weathered early on offense, and then obviously, having Sam Darnold and his production be just guys like borderline MVP conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's no accident. I think Kevin O'Connell's given a masterclass in building culture. That's why it's so hard to pick between Minnesota and Detroit. The talent is there on both sides, but the culture that both teams have built, their GM is also done a fantastic job in being in lockstep with KOC. I've got a lot of respect for both those organizations. That's why it's so hard to pick between the two. But that's why I'm so excited to watch that Sunday night.
Yeah.
And if the NFC comes down to those two, I won't be both won't be surprised and also won't be disappointed either, despite what I said about Philly earlier. So, there you go.
I got
7.
a quick question. Do you think they're as good with JJ if he started? Wasn't hurt?
Hard to say. I would probably go no
Okay.
because you have
The
some of the
experience.
natural rookie growing pains that Sam Darnold. I know Sam Darnold hadn't shown a ton of production in his career, but he's also played way more NFL football,
Yeah.
like real football in the NFL, as opposed to JJ with 25 college starts or whatever it was. So I would say no, they're probably not as good this year if JJ had started the whole way. I think they would have had more rookie growing pains, especially
Okay.
early.
Let's see. We're at 7.
Mm-hmm.
My team here, I got the Lions, and my one word is hurt. They got, especially on defense. That's, I think, the biggest issue for me. They've had people come and go all year, and they've done well replacing them. But now that it's crunch time, you got the best of the best. And I guess Sunday will be very telling of how this goes. But the reason I'm so low on them is because they're mainly hurt. They had the 1-2 punch, Sonic and Knuckles. Our guy Montgomery went down. I guess he probably coming back in the
Maybe.
playoffs, as they said. But that's
Maybe.
also if he doesn't take surgery. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens there. I just think there's too many there's too many big problems they have with the injuries that would be holding them back, but they are very talented. That's why I got them at 7.
At 7, I have the 10-6 NFC third seed Rams. My one word there is McVay. Pro Bowl rosters came out today. You know how many Pro Bowlers the Rams have?
Puka, let's go. No. I'm gonna say then maybe like 2, and then one of them's Jared Verse. Then
That's it. They have
oh, they
one
got
Pro
one.
Bowler, Jared Verse.
Ah,
They have one Pro
okay.
Bowler. They started the season 1-4. They didn't have Cooper Kupp or Puka Nacua for like 6 weeks of the season.
Yeah.
They got their full starting complement of offensive
In week
linemen
10,
in like
huh?
week 12.
Yeah.
They have had to like muster through some of the most adverse situations of any team in the league, and yet they have locked up a playoff spot and have the luxury of resting guys in week 18. And I tell you what, man, Sean McVay, that dude is he's just a stud. No one can convince me that he's not the best culture builder in the league. And it's funny because I just talked about what the Lions and Vikings built. You know where
Yeah.
each of those teams, what they have in common? They
came
have a guy who
from
came from the Rams. Brad Holmes came from Les Snead, right, in his general management office, and has done a great job in Detroit. Kevin O'Connell coached with Sean McVay, right, and is now that like so. There's a lot of similarities in those organizations because I think those guys were developed in that Les Snead, Sean McVay culture, and I think that's a huge credit to them. I think there's a lot of good culture builders. That the Harbaughs are up there, McVay's up there, Andy Reid's up there, right? But
Shanahan.
you can't tell me that anybody is doing it better than McVay. There might be some dudes doing it as well. Like I said, Harbaugh, Andy Reid, those dudes, Dan Campbell,
Yeah.
KOC, but like nobody's doing it better. So a lot of credit to them.
Quick side note too. Andy Reid, he had our guy Bieniemy. He went to UCLA, and what happened there?
Not good.
Tough.
Number
Not
8.
yeah.
We have
We
the
tied
same
here.
team.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is kind of funny. So we got the Packers here. My one word is sliding. I was high on them early. They've been, you've seen Cars, right? The third one.
Mm-hmm.
They're like McQueen is fading. McQueen is fading. That's what the Packers remind me of. They're hot and cold. They do good and then they lose it, or they got to ball really hard to make it to the end of the game, make it close, and then something happens where they win or lose regardless.
It's interesting because the Packers, we both have is the 8th best team in this playoffs, and then we both have Philly as a top 5 team, and that's a wild card matchup as things stand right now. It's a very likely wild card matchup, and I think the Packers are good enough to beat Philly.
I do
All
too.
the things that you're saying, I
Happened
think they're
last
good
year,
enough to beat them.
right? Or who'd they play?
They went on the road and beat Dallas last year.
Dallas. That's who it was.
Yeah.
But then where'd they go? Oh, they played the Niners, huh?
And almost beat them, but lost.
Yeah.
And what's funny about this is my one word for the Packers, Jacobs. They have the same advantage that Philly has, and that's that they can run the ball whenever they want to, and it feels that way. They've done a really good job of running the ball this year. They're not as good at it as Philly is, which is probably why those two teams are where they are. They don't have the talent at receiver that Philly does, but they also have like weirdly more guys. They're deeper. Defensively, though, the other thing that really hurts is Jair Alexander is now done, and we've learned that recently. They still have Xavier McKinney on the back end, who was my mid-year pick to be the decoy. He has fallen off quite a bit since then, but Green Bay, I still like a lot of what they have going on, like their coaching staff, the talent that's there, the ability to run the ball with Jacobs. They're going to have to play their best game to go on the road and beat Philly, but I think they can do it. And that's funny because I just told you I think Philly's coming out of the NFC, right? So but that's what I think of Green Bay. I think Green Bay is good enough that they could get in as the 7th seed. And if they beat Philly, all bets are off. Now, if they beat Philly, they have to kind of exercise their demons because that means they got to go on the road versus the Vikings or Lions.
Yeah.
And they haven't been able to beat either one of those teams this year. So that would be the thing for them. But I do like the Packers, even though I have them 8th here. So At 9, who do you have?
All right. Now we start getting the long shots. At least for me, that's how I see it. And right here, Bengals. Give them to me. They're hot.
Mm-hmm.
They're my one word is chance. They got the tiniest of chance to get in the playoffs, but if they
Yep.
make it, I think they could they could make some noise. Of course they're gonna have to be playing like they're gonna go to the Ravens, right? They're gonna go play their division rival already off rip. But
It'd be the Bills.
oh, you're right. There you go. You gotta go with the cold. but
That was funny.
But no, I think they got the tiniest bit of faith. But if they get there, like I said, I think it's going to be something crazy to watch. Now their defense definitely lacks compared to their offense, but we've seen them get into plenty of shootouts, especially in this run to get to 9 and or are they 9-8? No,
8-8.
8-8. There you go. One game away from that 9-8. I'll start Saturday with the Steelers, but a little bit of chance. That's what they're hoping on right there. So Bengals at 9 for me.
At 9, I got the Chargers, 10-6, the AFC 6 seed right now. My one word is Harbaugh because that's why they're here. They brought that dude in. They made the right hire. He's gotten the best out of that defense with Jesse Minter. Justin Herbert starting to look like he might be a problem for teams throwing the ball, against defenses. They kind of let him loose recently with the lack of run game that they've had in recent weeks, and it's still humming. The problem for them is just that I think they're probably going to end up on the road at Baltimore, and that's just going to be a hard game to win.
Yeah,
But if it was anybody else, if they end up on the road at Pittsburgh, if they end up at the road somehow at Houston, I'm going to pick them in the wild card round. I'm just telling you, the only team I won't pick them against is Baltimore. But if they end up against anybody else in round 1, I'm picking the Chargers. I'm just going to tell you right now.
All right.
10, who do you got?
I got the same people. I got the Chargers here at 10. My one word is receivers. I don't like many of them besides like Ladd McConkey. Quentin Johnston, hot and cold. He was very cold last year. Harbaugh, like you said, big guy, big factor into how they're at where they're at right now. That dude gets into buildings and changes the culture, and boom, they're hot. So if they could figure out the receivers going to the playoffs with Josh Palmer, of course, like I said, Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnson, maybe they could make some noise. Their defense has been playing a lot better, but till I could trust those receivers, I can't see them making it very far.
At 10, I've got the Commanders, 11-5, the NFC 6 seed right now. My one word for them is O'Roy. As an offensive rookie of the year, Jaden Daniels, he's that good. He made the Pro Bowl as a rookie. Not a lot of people do that on the initial vote, on the initial ballot. So impressive for him. And he's that good. I mean, he in clutch moments, he's come up time and again for them this year. He has like a career's worth of highlights and clutch moments in his rookie season. I was a big proponent of him in the draft. I thought, he would be this for Washington. I thought Washington would actually win the division, if you remember.
Yeah,
Even with me thinking he would be really, really good, I didn't see like I said, career's worth of clutch plays in 1 year as a rookie. So any team that has to play him in the first round of the playoffs should be nervous, even though he's a rookie quarterback. He may make rookie mistakes, but he's gonna make plays. It's gonna be tough to beat that team in the playoffs.
I got a theory on Jaden Daniels too.
And the
give me
theory
one
is
second to look up this stat real quick. So Lamar Jackson is 22-1 versus any team in the NFC. Guess what he likes to do? Run around and scramble. I think this is also kind of a testament as to how Jaden Daniels has been this good as a rookie, because they don't know how to defend quarterbacks like this. That being said, though, he's also lost. I don't know. 4 more
they're
games.
11. They're 11-5. Yeah.
Yeah. 4 more games than Lamar has versus the NFC. But I do think that's also kind of goes back to him being a rookie. If he could hone that in, I think he could be a lot better. Or the NFC has to eventually figure out how to play someone in that play style. But I do think that has a reason as to why he's been good this early.
In the 11 spot, we have the same team. We have the 10-6 Steelers, who are currently the AFC's 5th seed. My one word is Tomlin. Yours is?
Mine is Russ. I think
Interesting.
Russ,
Okay.
as good as he was at the start of his starts for the Steelers, where he went 5-1 off rip or whatever, he also hasn't been as good in recent times versus other teams. I think Russ,
He doesn't have
as
George Pickens.
that too, that is very true. But I think that it comes down to him being the quarterback, regardless of who's on the field or not. There's people, Josh Allen, that could make it happen with a lot less. So I think Russ will be the key factor if they could squeak out a game in the playoffs, or if it doesn't go their way.
Yeah, I think Mike Tomlin. I still have a ton of faith in him, and that's why he was my one word. He's why they're here right now. That defense is phenomenal. It's been not as good in recent weeks. They've also played. Dude, no one had a tougher 3-game stretch than they did. They played the Eagles,
The 11
the
games, right? They had that
Ravens,
too.
and the Chiefs in an 11-day span. Look at the top of my power rankings. They played the 3 best teams in the NFL in 11 days
But that's
without,
also the top
for the most
contenders for
part.
the Super Bowl. They got to go through these
Yeah.
dudes again.
Well, and that's the thing is they did that without George Pickens for the most part. I think he played in the last game against the Chiefs, but he played the first. They didn't have him for the first 2, and then you don't have. They're beat up on the back end. Joey Porter Jr. has been hurt. All that stuff, like that stuff, all matters. I think if the Steelers, truthfully, can find a way to win Saturday and get the 5th seed and get in and they play Houston in round 1, I'm picking the Steelers. And if they win that game and then we get to see that defense go to Kansas City in the next game, that's a great game. I'm just telling you, that's probably the team KC doesn't want to see in round 2. So I'm just that defense with the playmakers they have at every level. They had a Pro Bowler at every level, right? Cam Hayward, TJ Watt, Minka Fitzpatrick. So I do think, and then if Pickens is healthy, they can run the ball well enough, and then just let Russ cook and throw that moon ball to Pickens and let him go win it. That's a recipe that I think can beat the Chiefs. So I'm just telling you, don't count them out yet. I know they haven't looked as good, but I think of all the teams on this back half of this list, I think the Steelers have the best chance of finding themselves sort of, late round 2 or farther, I guess. All right, 12.
12. So this one I had it as a toss up. It's between whoever wins the division, basically, whether it's the Falcons or Bucks. And my one word is squeaking. They're squeaking by. I got more faith in the Bucks than I do with the Falcons. Baker was there last year. He went out, got a dub versus the Eagles round 1. But I don't know. Falcons, they got Penix being their guy, and he's only been playing like 2-3 games. And if they get to the playoffs in this spot, it's gonna be tough. I mean, I think at that point, realistically, I'd probably go back to Kirk Cousins if we made it to the playoffs, because I don't know if the pressure would be any different for Penix, or they end up starting him, have to bench him or something. I don't know, but
At this point, you're riding Penix, dude. You ain't going back. At 12, I have the Bengals. This is my one word is Burrow, because he's played himself into the MVP conversation. I think he's 3rd, but he's played himself into that. And he's the only reason that they're even here. They'd be fun if they get in. I'd love to watch them play the Bills in round 1. I think that would be the most fun matchup we could possibly get. Just because of you're talking about 2 of the 3 best quarterbacks in the league right now playing against each other in the wild card round. That'd be fantastic.
yeah.
Now, obviously, Burrow's defense has just been so bad. That's why they can't be higher than 12th in my mind, because you can't trust that defense. They probably won't even get in, truthfully. It's also why I couldn't put him much higher. But if they do get in with Joe Burrow, shoot, they could beat somebody. They could go and beat Buffalo somehow in round 1, because Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase might just go 203 tutties, So that's why they're there. 13. You kind of talked about the Falcons. I've got the Buccaneers here. I've got, Baker. is the one word. They've been throwing the ball extreme. They have one of the better passing offenses in the NFC. Here's the thing. Here's a weird possibility, right? The Lions super beat up in the secondary. If they lose that game to the Vikings and they become the 5 seed, and somehow
It's gonna
it's,
be a shootout.
let's say the Rams win, and so it's Bucks Lions in round 1. We saw the Bucks beat the Lions. That was like week 2 or whatever. But still, we saw them do it. And 2, that Bucks receiving core and offense and Baker and everything they've been cooking up versus that Lions secondary right now, that's a good game. Don't sleep on that game. The Bucks have a lot of chance to make at least some noise in terms of winning a round 1 game like they did last year. Do I think they're coming out of the NFC? No. But their defense would have to play so much better for them to come out of the NFC. But I do think they could maybe upset somebody in round 1 as a dangerous 4 or even 3 seed. So, I have them there because of Baker. 14.
Right here, I got the Commanders. My one word is rookie. He talked about Jane Daniels being, the offensive rookie of the year, and they got to their first 10+ win season in however many years. But I think when it comes to the bright lights, not that he hasn't done it with LSU or nothing, but it's just a different ball game in the playoffs, playing the best teams. Somehow they end up with Philly. I mean, they done it with them, so I mean, hey, wouldn't put it past them. But I just think the rookie play is going to be a key factor going forward in the playoffs. So we'll see what happens there.
At 14, I got the Broncos, currently the AFC 7th seed at 9-7, the most likely to get in.
Oh, we got
can
the same
beat
word.
Carson Wentz. And my one word is defense, and that's what's got him here. Bo Nix has done a very good job, and I hate to use the word like managing the game because but it's not the way that most people use the term game manager. The way I mean it is that Bo Nix and Sean Payton just do a very good job of staying ahead of sticks. They play great, efficient offense. He makes throws on time. And then when you need him to, as we saw against the Bengals, he can create out of structure like most game managers cannot. And that's what I mean when I say, man, he makes great decisions all the time. His experience shows up. But that defense is why you can play offense that way. That defense is elite.
True.
They've been very good.
On offense for sure.
Pat Surtain has a case to be the defensive player of the year. He's a Pro Bowler, no doubt. And that defense is legit. So that's why I think they'll probably end up being the team that obviously makes it in the AFC playoffs, in my mind, that last seed.
Yeah, I got them here at the 15th spot. Same word. Did you have Bo and/or Knicks as your word before? Did you change it?
Nah, I always went defense.
Maybe I saw Penix and I saw Knicks. I don't know. Regardless.
Yeah, something like that.
I think the Broncos, their defense is what's been holding them in. I'll briefly touch on it. Bo Nix is I'm going to just take a shot. It works. Not that he doesn't do well in like the quick game, but in more recent times, we've seen a lot of deep balls to Marvin Mims and stuff, but their defense is a key factor to them being in this position to winning in for the playoffs. So we'll see what happens there.
15, I've got the Texans, 9-7 as well. They're the seed. My one word is Stroud. And that is like, as in CJ Stroud has regressed this year. And
big.
Their ability to either win a playoff game or not will probably hinge on him. I don't think Bobby Slowick, their play caller, has done him a ton of favors, but it also hasn't helped that Stephon Diggs is hurt. That that now they've also lost Tank Dell.
Yeah,
it's pretty much Nico
for a little bit.
They did at some point, yeah. The playoffs are going to be pretty much Nico or bust, and then Joe Mixon's got to be able to run the ball well. But I think Houston is the worst team that is likely to be in. I think if you're in the AFC, that's who you want. Like if you're one of those wild cards, you really want that 5 seed
for sure.
So you can go to Houston, because I just don't. Houston's defense has still been pretty good, but their offense has just been. I don't know, man. I just don't trust that offense right now. I don't trust CJ Stroud right now, which is saying a lot coming off the rookie year he had. So that the reason he's my one word is he either has to rise to the occasion in the playoffs, or if he continues to be this version, they're not going to win a playoff game. So 16.
My 16th spot, I got the Texans as well. My one word is lucky. They're lucky to be in this race. They're lucky to be in a division that, has been
Is that bad?
subpar in recent times, where they
Yeah.
squeak by in at 9-7 and get the guaranteed spot. They're kind of like the NFC South right now, where the other teams are trying to figure it out to get in, and so I don't know. I think they probably don't make it out of that one spot unless, like you said, CJ Stroud balls out, because he stumped me last year in the playoffs. We'll see what happens this year.
16. I have the Falcons 8-8, NFC's eighth seed right now. Again, they could get to the 4th seed if they can win and have a Buccaneers loss. My one word is Penix. Penix is showing a ton of promise. I like his first 2 starts. I think there's a lot there. If they make it in the playoffs, obviously a ton will be riding on whether or not he can show up. I mean, if they make it in, that means they're playing the Lions or the Vikings in round.
Tough
That
matchup
would,
already.
yeah, that would be a really, really hard spot to be in, truthfully. But there's a lot to be excited about for the future if you're a Falcons fan. So, okay, the last team for both of us is the Dolphins. My one word is cold. Yours is
My one word was done. I
yeah.
mean, Mike McDaniel's been put on a display of who knows what. They kind of just been riding our guy Devon A-Chain in recent times. That dude's got a ton of yards. And no Tua, like you said, it's going to be tough for them to even get a win this week, I think, without him. And so I think it's just their season's done for. They're going to bring it back next year, see what happens.
Well, it's interesting we talk about it this way because they have a better chance of making it in than
Then the
the Bengals
Bengals,
do.
but we think
Um,
the Bengals are a more complete team or
oh,
something. I don't know.
of all the teams, like if you had to rank which team I would play, Bengals for sure number 1, Broncos for sure number 2,
Yeah.
Dolphins. Please don't give me that matchup. We've seen
They're going to go
we've
and get blown
seen
out by 40. It's going to
we've
look like one of
seen
these bowl games.
Miami. Yes, we've seen Miami go to Buffalo before. We saw it in the playoffs last year. Like it's not a fun game. The Dolphins don't play well in Buffalo, and Dolphin
Nope.
fans
Warn
get
you for it.
mad. I don't care. Like they don't play well there. They don't play well in the cold. It's a real thing. You can't say
Mm-hmm.
it's not at this point. And they've never performed well in the cold in general. They really didn't perform well there, or not last year. It was 2 years ago, right, where they had to go with Skylar Thompson to Buffalo. But like they struggle to win in Buffalo, especially this time of year. It just even if they get in, that would be like the worst playoff game. I don't even know if I'd watch that one because that's how bad I think it would
That's the
be.
first game of the
Um,
whatever day they're on, if that's the case.
yeah, yeah. So, all right. Moving forward, we've got awards. Get through these fairly quickly. First up, the Tukwa Gamer of the Week award. I've got Derwin James. Right, man balled out on a Saturday. He's the best player on that Charger defense, which has been playing really well for most of the year. That little blip, but they're playing well again against Patriots. He had 2 well-timed sacks. One was on 4th down. He was excellent all day, whether it was in coverage or run fits. Added a fumble recovery as well, 2 tackles for loss. I mean,
Yeah.
kid's a stud. So Derwin James is my gamer of the week.
I was gonna say I'm pretty sure I saw that fumble recovery when I was doing the Munoz award. You click through the 10 seconds, and then I'm pretty sure I saw that end of that. So yeah, I was gonna say he was doing good that game. My Tukwa Gamer of the Week award is gonna go to Malik Neighbors, putting on a clinic, bobbing and weaving through the Colts D. He got 7 catches on 8 targets, 171 yards, and 2 TDs in a game they shouldn't have won, but they did it for the culture. Lost that one spot in the draft, but hey, it is what it is. We ball.
Jody's dog of the week. Who you got?
I got Jamison Williams from the Lions game. My guy's got 2 TDs, one being a rush, one of them on the hook and ladder from Amon Ra. Just smoking cats down the sideline.
Love it.
Yeah. Next
All
up, we
right.
got the minor setback, major comeback. Looks like it was a big topic discussion we had earlier too. What you got?
I got the Atlanta Falcons. All right. I like what I'm seeing from Michael Penix, despite the loss on Sunday night. We talked about this a little bit in the power rankings. I mean, that loss likely means they'll miss the playoffs this season, but I like their future with Penix.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of tangible pieces on both sides of the ball. I love their coaching staff, right? I love Raheem Morris. Obviously, they misused the timeouts and mismanaged the clock during that Sunday Night Football game. But despite that, I still like the coaching staff. I like Zach Robinson, the play caller. I think there's a lot there. Jimmy Lake as the DC. There's a lot there to like, and a lot of talent, a lot of young talent. The nucleus of that offense being Penix, Bijan, and Drake London. That's not a bad. That's not a bad place to be. So minor setback, major comeback. Atlanta Falcons. Be on the lookout next year.
Kyle Pitts with that TD too, right? That was this week.
Hey, you notice I didn't mention his name. All right, no cap. Hats off award. It's the same game. Crazy enough, the Falcons. They make a game-winning kick to beat the Commanders with no time left. The backup kicker comes in clutch from 56. Oh wait, actually. It was perfectly lined up, but it was 5 to 8 yards short of the actual post. And it goes to overtime, and the Falcons never touch the ball again. I saw a video of a bar in Atlanta where Falcons fans
they got hyped.
watched.
They were like, oh!
They partied for like a whole minute afterwards because they thought he made it.
Mm-hmm.
And then they realized once they were seeing like coin flip, they're like, wait, what's going on? And they realized he was short. Yeah. So tough scene. It really did look like live that he actually made the kick. I was like, definitely. Because of course, as a Rams fan, you needed the Commanders to win to lock up the division. Yeah. So I thought he made the kick, and I was like, oh man, like dang it, we needed the Commanders to come through for us. And turns out he missed the kick. He was short by like 5 to 8 yards. So kicker's gonna kick, man.
I seen a meme too on that exact play, how it played out with me and Johnny. It's like, oh, bring out the kicker, win the game. I literally said, I was like, oh, Youngway, where he at? And then we see the dude line up, and we're like, who is this guy? And then next thing you know, he kicked it, like, game over. 2 seconds later, short. And we're just like, oh. And then they pan Youngway on the sideline in regular clothes. And we're like, what is going on?
He was hurt,
It was literally a meme with that same exact order of representation.
I also saw a funny set of tweets from a Seahawks fan, right? Because the Seahawks needed the Falcons to win, opposite of the Rams, obviously.
Yeah.
And the Seahawks fan, is tweeting, and you see a series of 3 tweets, right? The first tweet, it says, let's go, Falcons, we got this in the bag, bring out Youngway.
Yeah.
Second tweet, who the is this dude? Where is Youngway?
Yeah.
And then the next one, oh, he made it. Oh. Next one, like, I can't believe this bum is.
How could you not drill a 50-plus yarder in the NFL?
The range of emotions was hilarious, man. I think that was representative of every Seahawks fan everywhere. Okay, Strahan, Munoz, Big Fellow Award. Jody, who you got on the Munoz side?
All right, so I talked about it very, very shortly, but I was watching the Chargers game. I went with the left guard, Zion Johnson. He's good at keeping an extension in the pass pro. He had a good pass off from the tackle in early on in that game. In the run game, he's got good leg drive. He kept running. I was going to say they like running with him a lot. He was pulling a lot, running right off his back. Plays through the whistle on the run plays. And then, like I said, he's very quick off the ball because they use him in pools. I was going to say he's also very team-friendly guy. He would go pick up the running back, very, very in tune with them, young dude. So I look forward to watching him going forward too.
Nice. I'm going to go with Myles Garrett on the Strahan side. Dude could easily, very, very easily check it in this season with the Browns. With the season they're having, they've got 4 wins or whatever, 3-12, 4-12, whatever it is. And instead, he's tied for the league in sacks with Trey Hendrickson. And despite having basically no offense, he recorded 2 sacks, 4 tackles, along with a TFL in that game against the Dolphins, wrecked a lot of that game and kept the Browns like in it for a little bit. Again, even though they basically have 0 offense with DTR at quarterback. Myles Garrett, man, dude's going to get some love for the defensive player of the year. I don't think he wins it because they have like 3 wins.
Yeah.
But definitely. He should get some love for it. And again, tied for the league in sacks, consummate professional. Truly feel bad for him. And we'll see what his future looks like in Cleveland if they can't figure some stuff out. But he's a dude.
All right, next up we got the Who's Cooking Award. You got the Michelin star food, or you got some Kraft mac and cheese
Hey,
straight out the
hey,
box.
I can't wait right now. I can't wait, bro. Who you got? Because I can't wait for mine.
I got Joey B, my guy Joe, whatever you want to call it, Joe Shiesty. My dude is putting on a clinic out
Joe
there.
Cool.
Yeah, exactly. 39 of 49, 412 yards, 3 TDs, 4 rushes, 25
Nasty.
yards, a TD running as well. And we already
Don't
talked
say it.
about this. We already talked
Don't
about this. I said, should he
don't
be
say it.
MVP? No,
No,
but
no.
my dude, did you see him hit the gritty when he had that rushing touchdown? I saw like
Hilarious.
a press conference post game where they asked him about it. He was like, "Well, I saw Jamar. He looked at me like, what are you gonna do?" He said, "So I just started hitting it. I don't know. I thought it was cool." It looked a lot better than Gasecki, I'll tell you that.
I got Drew Lock because he cooked the Colts
Yeah.
and their playoff chances before. By the way, Pat McAfee. Oh my gosh, he went in on that entire
I heard they were
organization,
hating on Pat McAfee. Don't know what happened, but I'm gonna have to check that out after this.
bro. He went on a rant. Cooked them. The whole organization says he's not renewing season tickets, like all of it, bro.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You think he
But
moves? Pull shop for his job?
nah. Drew Lock, 74% completions, 309 yards, 4 tutties, a 155.3 rating.
Is
Just,
that
just,
higher
just
than the
destroyed,
ceiling?
destroyed the Colts.
Or is it
Destroyed them.
156.2? What's the highest rating?
The highest, I don't remember.
I
It's
thought it
something
was.
weird like that. It's like 156 or 157, something like that.
Oh,
It's
okay.
random.
I don't know why I thought it was 152.6 or something weird. Maybe it's the flip
No,
flop those numbers.
he was close to the ceiling of it though. I know that. And I mean, Drew Lock is weird because he is just good for one of these kind of games, like once a year. Once a year, he's good for that. So pretty fun. We got next up the Boo Boo Evans Award
158.3 is
the ceiling. Yeah, so he was close.
all right.
3 points
My
off. 3
Boo
points
Boo
off.
Evans. This is something. I know plenty of people were mad at this guy. Scary Terry McLaurin. My guy had 1 catch on 7 targets for 5 yards. I'm sure you've seen the memes on X already, X.com and everything app
Terry.
by now, but my guy was nowhere to be found in this game playing peekaboo with the ball. I couldn't tell you. It was plenty of people were mad at this dude in the fantasy world, so it's tough. Tough world for my guy.
Great week of awards. And we get to everyone's favorite segment, the turnover on downs. And first up, first down, I've got some trends that I want to show. We're going to talk about the Ravens, okay? The Ravens here, we're going to show, actually, you're going to get a 2-for-1 special. I'll show you back-to-back plays for them. But this first play, all right, check this out. They're going to motion Zay Flowers, right, across the formation, which is going to force the DBs to bump. But all that's going to happen is this quarter is going to replace this safety. Safety is going to replace the 1 high, and the 1 high is going to come down on the other side against Zay Flowers. So it doesn't change the blocking, but it lets Lamar see that how they're changing coverage, right? It's likely more zone based than man if he's not running with him, that kind of stuff, right? So you move the motion, move the defense a little bit. Your angles stay very similar, and they're just going to run a pin and pull concept, right? So we're going to pin, pull, pin, pull, pin, right? And then he's just going to arc release to pin outside here, right? So you're trying to create the gap right here where that yellow arrow is for Derrick Henry. Now, here's the thing about Derrick Henry, though. Fantastic vision, right? He's a great runner. I mean, everyone loves his power, but his vision is incredible as well. So watch what happens on this play. Here's the motion. There's how we said they were going to play it, right? Here's our pin and pull concept, right? Now, on the front side of the play, that defensive lineman, see how he just gets penetration right away?
Yeah.
Messes up the puller on that pin pull concept, right?
Mm-hmm.
On the backside, look how this defender has to play Lamar, right?
Yeah.
He has to. So Lamar That's how you block that backside player, is you don't block him and you let Lamar put eyes on him. Is Lamar actually reading this? Could be, could not be, right? Doesn't really matter because you hold that defender. Now watch what Derrick Henry does.
Right back.
Creases it. Yep. Cut back, right? So even though Houston played this run front side so well, they create the penetration. You can see it better from this angle. And we'll pause it kind of when they get to that motion, right? Or when they get to that play. Look at front side. This D lineman is going to swallow him up for a 3-yard loss, right? This guy backside, he's doing his job. Hey, I got to play Lamar, right?
Dang.
And everyone's flowing with the pin pull action, getting to the run fits where they're supposed to be. And yet Derrick Henry's vision to cut it back and then break one tackle makes this a 12-yard gain.
43 should have plugged that up, but instead he hesitated. Sat a second too long.
If that back isn't Derrick Henry, right, and he runs front side to the pin pull side, that's a 3-yard loss.
Oh, yeah.
Then on cutback, if, again, he's not Derrick Henry and 43 can make the tackle, it's maybe a 3-yard, 4-yard gain. And it ends up being a 12-yard gain. So if you're Houston, that's extremely frustrating. Okay, next play, live to fight another down. Now the Ravens give you a full house backfield, nub side tight end, right? And watch what they're going to do here. They're going to zone block it, but they're going to make it look like it's a downhill action with Derrick Henry. And instead, they're going to take the other two backs and lead outside with Lamar. So it makes it look like, okay, when you get this downhill action with Derrick Henry, they have to attack. If you wait, you're giving Derrick Henry a head full of steam coming right at you. So now they don't come, these backers do come downhill, right? You have a guy outside, but look what you have. You have a blocker, right? Who's going to get to that one, a blocker who's going to get to that one, and this guy who's left unblocked is looking at Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, guess what it is for Lamar? 88 out the gate. Touchdown, Lamar Jackson, right? We'll see it one more time from this angle. Again, this is Will Anderson, top 5 pick, right? Makes a ton of plays. Oh, ran into my own guy because I thought it was a give to Derrick Henry because Derrick Henry just got 12 yards to play before.
Yeah.
Right? That's what's so hard about playing the Ravens right now. They're so diverse, right? You have the mobile quarterback with the thumping back with good vision. You know what teams are going to be trying to do? Teams want to get back to run the ball. And this isn't even, remember, we've been talking about 2 high safeties all year. Look at this. This is a 1 high look. They have the dudes in the box to play this. They're not playing too high. They're not trying to take away an explosive right now. They're playing 1 high safety looks against the Ravens. And which is why, by the way, the Ravens can throw the ball whenever they want, but they can still run the ball too. Yeah. So a lot of teams, don't be surprised. A lot of teams start looking for this kind of thunder and lightning mix of thumping back, downhill back with good vision, and then the quarterback that's mobile that can make these plays happen. So don't be surprised. Team building, you start seeing a lot of that because it's almost impossible to defend. What do you got for us second down, Jody?
I got my first bet that I'm giving y'all on second down is going to be the Bengals -1.5 versus the Steelers. We briefly talked about this at the top, but they're playing for a playoff berth potentially. Steelers haven't been playing well the past 3 weeks. As you mentioned, 11-game stretch, tough teams. But also, there's a lot of people up for contract discussion. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, mainly, but plenty of offensive steam that I think the Steelers won't be able to match. But their defense is a lot better, so we'll see. Strength on strength, as you like to mention. So I like the Bengals right there and that one on the road. Next up that I'm looking at, I got Broncos Chiefs under 40, especially if the Chiefs decide to sit people with them locking up the 1 seed at 15-1. They played a bunch of people grossly this year. And I think they were 17-14 or something, 14-16 in their game earlier in the year with the blocked field goal. So the under in that one looks pretty good to me. And then lastly, kind of touch on at the top as well, Vikings +3 versus the Lions. I think the Vikings are a better team. No, they're on the road here, but they get a lot of pressure on Goff, and that tends to be when he's not playing his best, is when he doesn't have time to make decisions and throw the ball. But for me, I think I'm taking the Bengals here just because I think they got too much to play for. and I want to see them win. So Bengals -1.5 is the option I'm going with.
Bengals Steelers just so much of a toss up. I would stay away from that game. I think I like your Broncos Chiefs under 40 better, but I think a lot of people are going to put a lot of money on the Bengals because they've been playing so well and they've been playing themselves into this point, and it feels like they have to win the game, right?
That's true. Yeah.
And yet I trust Mike Tomlin and that Steelers infrastructure, and part of me thinks they're going to win or try to win regardless. So I don't know. I'm not ready to count the Steelers out yet. I'm not saying the Bengals can or won't win. I wouldn't be shocked if they win. They've won so many other games now, right? But also, I just that's a stay away game for me.
See, it hasn't shifted, so there's that. Still at 1.5, so we'll see.
All right, so third down breakdown. We're gonna cheat again and go to a fourth down because that's what we do on this podcast. We cheat.
You ain't cheating, you ain't trying. Some people like to say.
You ain't trying. I mean, I can't not show this play from Bo Nix. This is what we were talking about earlier. The way he's playing right now, managing the game to get it to this point. But then, hey, we're late in the game. We need the play. It's 4th and 1. We're inside the red zone, right? Or approaching the red zone, depending on how you categorize red zone, right? The Bengals, I don't hate the play call here, right? From them, they're going to play what we call cover one robber. Okay, so it's cover one, man on the back, man on this tight end, man, right? Then you got a safety who's going to kind of play in the middle of the field. You know, if you weren't paying attention, you might think, okay, he might have the back man to man. Nah, he's going to play a robber look, right? And he's going to rob unders and digs and that kind of stuff. He's going to help play the middle of the field, so you don't just give Bo Nix a good look over the middle of the field. And then you've got one high, and that's your cover one look, right? Well, here's the thing about Bo Nix. You only rush 4 against him. He can extend the play. And outside to the side that he's going to read, you're going to get the quick out route, the speed out with the corner route, right? It's old school smash concept, just with condensed formation and an out route, right? With smash spacing, you end up with a guy about 5 yards outside the numbers and then the corner route over the top of it. It's a good zone beater, but hey, we get man here, cover one. It's running away from the one high safety and away from inside leverage more than likely. It's not a bad play. Okay, so he's going to look at the out route first. If he can get the first down, get to the out route, get out of bounds, it's not a bad spot to be in, right? Otherwise, hey, I got to take my shot. Well, here you go. You can see he looks at the out route first. First, he's going to kind of look up that safety, keep him in the middle of the field, hopefully. He's going to look at the out route first, and he feels a little bit of pressure. He doesn't like it. Now, he could have probably thrown it if he throws it to the sideline, right? His guy's got to step. But it's tough. It's sticky coverage. I'm going to feel some pressure. I'm going to extend. Now, the tough part about this is this Bengals defender does a very good job of saying, I know I'm going to play outside and underneath the corner, right? This is covered. This is NFL covered, right? This is like, don't throw this ball. But guess what? Bo Nix extends the play, throws it up, and gives this guy a shot. And Mims goes and makes the play.
Yep.
I mean, that's just a dude making a play in double coverage. It's also Nix buying time and giving his guy a shot in a moment when he needs to. This is a smart gamble play that he made. Right now, a lot of times you don't want him to make that throw, but in this situation, got to have it to tie the game. Not a lot of time on the clock. It's 4th down. Yeah, make the throw, make the play. Yeah. And it's a special, fading away. It was a fadeaway jump shot. So Bo Nix, I like the way he's playing right now. If the Broncos get in, do I think they can beat the Bills? No. But I don't think that Bo Nix is a liability in that spot. I think he'll play well enough that maybe they're in the game. We'll see. But I like the way he's playing right now. So had to show that the way that he's making plays when his team needs him to do it.
All right, 4th down on this. Turnover on downs, I have Devontae Adams receptions. This one burned me personally. That's why I'm bringing it up. His line was 5.5. My guy finished the game with 5. I wanted to peep real quick how many targets he had. It was a very, very call in the Jets game, as you said. They benched our guy Rodgers, I believe, in this, which is also probably part of the reason why it didn't work out for me. I had Saquon to score last week, but they played so well. They were up 41-7. They pulled him early. Didn't even want him to rush the
Yeah.
ball no more. How
Yeah.
they got into the same conversation where he was down 100 yards, and yet they still chose to bench him this week. There was another one I saw, Brock Bowers, inverse of Devontae. His line was 6.5, finished with 7. So both of those combined, could have burned you either way. Let's see. They played the Bills last week, huh? They don't want to show me. All right. Well, I guess I won't. Targets Devontae finished with last week because everywhere I'm going is just making me go on loopholes right now. But
that's why you do your research before the pod,
yeah,
Jody.
you're not
Come
wrong.
on,
You're
dude.
not wrong.
Come on.
It is what it is. But I do have the numbers on hand. That's all. Not the complete numbers, just the bare minimum, I guess.
All right. So we're gonna finish with the day as promised with a little review of college football, the college football playoff. First off, here's what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna start with my opening rant, I guess, if you will. I think what this playoffs has shown us, 12 teams is too many. Okay, so everyone is juiced up about Alabama and South Carolina both losing in their bowl games while playing majority of their players. They didn't really have a lot of guys opt out for either one of those teams. They played their guys, and they lost to Michigan and Illinois, who people consider to be like mid Big Ten teams, right? And so a lot of people felt like, okay, that shows the committee got it right?
Yeah.
In putting SMU and Indiana in, and of course, Clemson kind of winning their conference and being in and all that stuff, right? And what I thought it showed is none of those teams were very good. None of them really probably deserved to be there. None of them were going to win a national championship. None of those teams were going to go win 4 games in a row and win a national championship. It wasn't going to happen. So my point is it's not necessarily vindication for the committee as much as it is 12 teams, probably too many in a given year. The likelihood is we have about 8 teams that can actually win a national championship, right? That can actually do that. Now, here's the thing. With the 12 teams, and probably likely going to be expanded to 16 at some point, with that format, will you have an upset in round 1? Yes. I'm not going to say it's never going to happen. That's going to happen, right? It'll happen. But can one of those teams actually win it and win 4 games in a row? I don't think so. I don't think you ever see a team outside the top 8 win the whole thing. I just don't think it'll happen because college football is a tough sport. Like to ask a team to do that 14 times in a row. It's not a sport that's built like the NCAA tournament is. You're not going to get that, right?
Yeah, that's for sure.
So in my mind, 8 would have been more the sweet spot. But that's kind of, hey, rant over. We'll let that go. I just wanted to address it because I know Alabama, they thought they should be in. And truthfully, if we're going to talk about the 12 team and whether the committee got it right or wrong, I said at the time the committee got it right. I thought they made the right choice. And I think with South Carolina and Alabama losing, it kind of shows, hey, those other 2 teams got Indiana, SMU got ran off the field, whatever. But I don't think Alabama and South Carolina would have done any better. I just don't think there were 12 teams that were that good. And I think if you're choosing then at that point, and that's where we're at, then take the 2 teams that won more games and earned their way into it more. Like where SMU was in their conference's championship game and Indiana lost 1 game to a playoff team. Like, I'm glad they put those 2 teams in. They earned their way in more than the other team, South Carolina or Alabama. So glad they did it. That being said,
do you think these games play any differently if they get a home game as opposed to being the bowl game?
Oh yeah, I think that first round showed that. I mean, those home games are valuable.
Because I would say that's probably the one.
I think home
I
field is more important in college football than it is in the NFL.
There's
more of an advantage.
I'll just wait till we get the Oregon game, but that kind of ties back from last week where I was like, oh, I thought it's a home game, but it's the Rose Bowl. You know what I mean? So I think that it would be a big factor. They could probably change maybe if they want to go that route or not. I don't know.
I like I'm going to be honest though. I love like the big bowl game, like the Rose Bowl and the Peach Bowl. Like I like that they play
at the
bigger games that matter in those venues where so many great games have happened. It would be tough in my mind to move away from those. Now, looking at the actual games themselves, we had 3 games, not 4, right? One will be tonight, in a few hours from now. But Boise State, Penn State. I picked Boise 34-33. The game played out much differently than what I saw, in terms of it finished 31-14, Penn State. Penn State's offense did about what I expected, right? Boise made some plays when they needed to. They got off the field when they needed to, created a turnover, sacks, did some things that they needed to do defensively. I thought Boise was okay on defense. They weren't great, but they're about what I expected. The big difference was Penn State's defense played out of its, incredible defense right now. They played at a level I didn't think they were capable of playing at, which Boise, they made it a game for a little bit. They were there. They were 17-14 in that third. Okay, here we go, Boise. The Genty started to get going a little bit, and it was like, okay, here's what I was expecting, and it just never quite happened. Boise also shot themselves in the foot with 2 missed field goals, an opportunity. If you look at the game,
by the way,
if you look at the game, Boise outgained Penn State. They lost the turnover battle. They missed the 2 kicks. They a lot of ways, and then they lost the rushing battle. But a lot of ways, it felt like if you just kind of look at time of possession, a lot of stuff said Boise should have been more in the game than what the final score showed. But Boise made too many mistakes. Right? They made too many mistakes that I thought the team that they hadn't made all year. They played a lot tougher against, say, Oregon earlier in the year, but they didn't make those mistakes. So at the end of the day, they made too many mistakes to win that game, and Penn State made less of them. Though Penn State, with some play calling stuff and some things, I thought actually did Boise a favor and kept them in the game, which is why I picked Boise in the first place. But I think Boise, 1, proved they belonged in it, and 2, Penn State showed that they were capable of another level of defense that, hey, they got to be taken seriously going into that semifinal game. But what's your question?
I was going to say, did you know, is a dumb question. Did you know Genty just stood there in his stance?
Mm-hmm.
He didn't ever got in a real stance. I thought that was
crazy. That's been his thing all year.
I didn't know that. Johnny was like, yeah, you didn't know that? I was like, no. I was like, I don't watch Boise State. But also, I was going to say those field goals burned us on that over. I also thought it was 3 missed field goals, not 2. Because those would have, well, then maybe it didn't burn us. We probably would have never made it in. But
unless there was another one at the very end that I missed. I turned it off.
I think there was at the end.
31-17. Okay.
Yeah.
So Texas, Arizona State. I said that game had the most blowout potential, and for a while, we're talking I don't know, 50. The first 3 and
all the way to the fourth
quarters, it looked like that was the case, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, man, all it took was a little spark of something. ASU gets stopped at the goal line, but they get that safety, and then they kick a field goal, and then they actually score a touchdown. I didn't get the 2-point. A lot of stuff happened the latter half of that game where Texas just looked like they stopped playing. I mean, truthfully, they just kind of were like, okay, foot off the gas, we're just cruising, and all of a sudden they found themselves, oh, it's tied with 3 minutes to go. What are we doing? And so most of the game looked like I thought it would. The Texas defense is fantastic. They kept Scadaboo in check again for 3 quarters and change, and then all of a sudden, dude just started going nuts. And Texas looked like they were shocked. They didn't know what hit them. A lot of it, like I said, looked like the only thing that happened in that game consistently that I was not prepared for. Arizona State's run defense was much better and much better than Clemson's. They stopped Texas from running the ball consistently like they had all season. And then, like I said, the Texas defense kind of went away late in that fourth quarter.
Definitely.
And allowed Arizona State to get back in the game. But the big thing was in the overtime, when Arizona State is up 31-24 and Quinn Ewers is down to 4th and 13, the experience and the calm of that dude showed up. I know a lot of people have been, hey, Arch Manning, hey, we're ready for Steve, hey, blah, blah, blah. Hey, there's a reason that dude just got a reported $6 million offer from somebody to transfer portal after the season's over and not enter the draft. There's a reason that dude just got a $6 million offer because now I can't show – he's got one more year of eligibility if he wants it. I can't show the clip because of ESPN is locked down. If any of you didn't know, they can't show it. So, but I'll just explain it. Right, he gets up to the line of scrimmage. He sends a motion coming in from outside receiver to stack behind his slot.
Left, I believe.
Yep, and on that motion, it triggers ASU to kind of start because I think it was supposed to be a motion like a cheat motion, like snap it on the fly.
Uh-huh.
And as that's happening, he sees ASU show pressure and he stops him, right? Say, hey, just stop right there. Don't actually turn it up. I'm not going to snap it right now. So stops him. Guy stops behind the stack. He gets up, he checks it, and he goes, okay, hey, look, I'm going to check the protection right now. I like what I've got out here. I know it's man-free, and they're going to send a pressure, but I'm going to keep the back and the tight end in. I'm going to get a max protect, just a one-man route back here and my two-man route over here so we can protect it all up. Yeah. And I'm going to get what I want, right? So what he got outside is the stack receiver on top. Looks like he's going to run post, but he cuts it flat. And the receiver behind looks like he's going to run corner, but then bangs it off on the post, right? Well, ASU has the one high safety, right? And he thinks he's getting post from the top receiver. So he bites on that one. And you have another, because it's a stack, right? You have the corner playing outside leverage of the behind receiver. So when he pushes him outside and that guy's already outside leverage and he bangs back to the post, if that ball's on time, that corner can't make that play. That safety has stepped up to the dig. Yeah. Post is wide open for a touchdown, right? So Quinn Ewers sets all that up pre-snap. He knows that's what he's going to get. Boom, calm, lays it up. I mean, it's a perfect throw, catch, touchdown, tie the game. Hey, on the second overtime, we're just going to score on the very first play because Sark just schemed it up so well. Tight end league, backside touchdown, and all of a sudden they've won the game. It happened. It felt like ASU had the game won, and then Quinn Ewers stepped up and did it. And honestly, had to feel good for that kid, given Texas fans wanting Arch Manning so much. He got heat from a former receiver who transferred to Washington saying, like, oh, y'all wasting your money for real, trying to give him a $6 million in the there's a reason, dude. That kid, elite up top. He was his best when his best was required. And that was like NFL quarterbacking type stuff that he was doing at the line of scrimmage. Every explosive play that Texas had was because Quinn Ewers made the right read. So very impressive day from him. Anyone advocating for Arch Manning right now probably needs to sit down because that was impressive.
Well, in the middle of the game when it was looking like it was going to be a blowout the first quarter, that was my first reaction. Well, Arch going to play by halftime. It's over. And then here we come. We got overtime. But
the last one.
I was going to say the one thing from that game is I think Scadaboo was also a big factor. I think he got hurt somewhere between the end of the fourth and overtime where he just wasn't even.
They said he was thrown up, and that was his.
I was say he wasn't really as in the game as much as he could. Don't get me wrong, but he did a couple plays, he'd 6 more, and then it was like
for all the hype he got. And he did end up with a big day stat-wise.
A lot of points. Or not a lot of points, a lot of yards.
For all that, Texas stopped him on 4th down and short twice. And that's really what the difference was. Texas's defense is that good. Now, that kid had a fantastic day. Don't get me wrong. But Texas's defense is that good. Oregon and Ohio State, right? That game I thought would be the best one of the weekend, right? Was not. Oregon sleptwalk through the first quarter. Ohio State's offense was flawless. Their game plan was perfect. Chip Kelly and Ryan Day deserve a ton of credit. Jeremiah Smith is unguardable one-on-one. You have to double that kid. And the thing for Oregon, they never, ever made Will Howard feel uncomfortable. They never got pressure. They never touched him. Now, even when their offense started finally figuring it out, and Ohio State was doing a ton of stuff with 3 high safeties and Caleb Downs in the middle of the field that was just sick. Texas is going to have some trouble running some of their RPO stuff if Ohio State's in that same structure. But anyway, Oregon's defense never really got pressure. They didn't get the necessary stops to try. I mean, again, it was 34-0 before the Oregon offense finally started going. And so Ohio State deserves a ton of credit for playing the way they did. Oregon, it's a bummer that they didn't show up and make that a real game. But Ohio State played their best football right there. And it's hard not to look at Ohio State right now as the favorite to win the whole thing, the way they just played in their last two games.
Yeah. Do you think
coming from a Michigan fan, hard to say, but that's they are legit right now.
Do you think that bye week hurt Oregon, or do you just think they just weren't as prepared regardless of the bye week?
A lot of people, I've seen this brought up a ton, right? Boise was down 14-3 before they blinked, or 14-0 before they blinked. ASU was down 14-3 before they blinked. Oregon was down 21-0 right out of the gate. So all the teams that were on bye faced massive deficits very quickly into the game. So a lot of people, hey, this goes back in the NFL too, right? Is the old rest. Is that a good thing? Do you rest your guys in week 18 for have bye, all of that stuff? And we'll see how it shows up in the game tonight, Georgia and Notre Dame. Like if Notre Dame gets out to a big lead really quickly, everyone's going to be really jumping on that bandwagon. So that'll be 4 games of evidence. But I don't know. I don't know if it. I think you want your guys healthy, dude. I mean, I don't think you want to say that you want to play a game versus like you're already in the next round. It's tough. Now, do I think they'll restructure who gets buys? Yes.
Yeah.
Do you think that's coming? I don't think it'll be conference champs get the auto buy. I think conference champs will get an auto bid, but I don't think they'll get the auto buy moving forward. I think they'll just let the top 4 get the buys because if you did that, Oregon doesn't play Ohio State in round 2, right? It does feel like if you could take Oregon's path as the Big Ten champion or Penn State's path as the runner-up.
Yeah, a lot favorable on the Penn State route.
SMU and Boise versus bye and Ohio State and out, right? Obviously. Yeah. So, and Penn State's in the semifinal, Oregon's not. So that does, as the team that was the Big Ten champion lost that game, does feel a little weird. But hey, that's what you get when you have an expanded playoff. You're going to have some more weird results. And so Ohio State earned their way in. Now, the Ohio State-Texas matchup, I wish I had both the matchups so I could really deep dive them, but we don't yet, obviously. We'll see who Penn State's playing. But the Texas-Ohio State matchup is going to be strength on strength. We talked about this before, but like that Ohio State offense versus that Texas defense is like cinema. I'm going to love watching that. The Texas secondary is built to stop a passing attack like Ohio State. The real question is going to be, can Texas run the ball? Because Oregon could not run the ball against Ohio State's defense, and Texas really didn't have success running the ball against Arizona State. If Texas can't run the ball against Ohio State, they're in serious trouble. Like Ohio State may do the same thing to them that they did to Oregon, the way they're playing offense right now, even with Texas's defense being very good, because I thought Oregon's defense was really, really good. So I don't know. Ohio State, I saw right out of the gate yesterday was like a 4.5 point favorite in that game. I think deservedly so.
Yeah.
I would probably lean Ohio State right now if I had to pick that game. And that's coming from someone who picked Texas to win the whole thing. So, but it's hard after watching those 2 games yesterday not to be like Ohio State is going to beat them. You never know though with college kids. It's hard to play that way. Multiple sustained levels of success over and over and over again. So we'll see. Texas has snuck by in their first 2 games. Ohio State's blown those 2 teams out of the water. Maybe that helps Texas actually in this game. Who knows? We'll see if that can happen. But we're excited for the game tonight, and we'll get that second matchup. And then depending on when those games are, when we record next, we may give you the deep dive if we can get it before those games happen. That being said, Jody, you got to finish us out here. Banger of the week.
All right, so I'll do a regular one and an honorable mention. Brought to you up at the top, where I had some coffee this morning. My guy Stella blueberry muffin with the flavor, pretty good. I like it on its own, but also I told you I had creamer, the flavored creamer, and that was a game changer because I was telling you I only did half and half before, so it wasn't really much difference off the coffee taste. So Stella Blue Blueberry Muffin is a good one to me. And then if you get that flavored creamer, it's something special for sure. But my honorable mention is gonna go out to 50 Cent song "Happy New Year." We're a day out from it. You can go and check that out. It's in the chorus where he says that. It's pretty fun to me, just because he says "Happy New Year." So yeah, that's my bangers for the week right there.
Okay. Love it. Love it. Well, we'll kick back and enjoy more football today and obviously this weekend. And the next time you hear us, we're going to be getting ready for some wild card weekend games,
Crazy.
maybe some CFP semifinal games, hopefully tons of film. Probably not for those CFP games, though, because ESPN
They're
doesn't let us
locked
get
down.
that film. But for the wild card games, for sure. All right. And on that note, we'll let our guy take us out, Ray Ray.